Alright, so this is my review of Mecha Frieza from SH Figuarts, recent P-Bandai release, and I got him from Okini Land, and I'll put the link in the description, but most people probably got him from P-Bandai directly. And we'll talk more about that later, but overall really good figure, and let's start the review. So let's start with aesthetics, and let's just see how tall he is. So right about 4 3/4 inches. And, you know, it's Frieza, so that's about how tall I'd imagine he'd be. Probably right at 5 feet, give or take. Just get his full dimensions going. Right, 1.7 ounces, which is pretty heavy considering his size. Okay, and yeah, so let's just talk about how he looks. The silver parts on him really stick out well, and kind of like the black parts, very nice satin finish. The purple kind of crest parts on him, gloss finish, looks really nice. He's got the scar on his chest, if you could see that. Very nice attention to detail. He's a bit glossier than I would have liked in the kind of torso region, but no complaints for the most part. And just a back view. And yeah, the detail is just through the roof. And I mean, this figure, and see how he almost fell. That's the one thing I like about Frieza figures, cooler. They have the tail to kind of always hold them up. But yeah, speaking of the tail, looks very nice, but we will talk about the articulation part of it. Just some nitpicks. But other than that, I think he looks really good. And just a close-up on his face. Let's get the camera to focus. And, you know, Figuarts always just nails the DBZ faces, because that's kind of like their forte, right? So, very nice detail there. Amazing looking figure. So, in terms of aesthetics, I'll give him a 4.5. And the only reason I'm just going to knock it down a bit is really for the tail. And honestly, it's just like the joints kind of sticking out there, kind of a little ugly. And, you know, when you start moving it around and things like that, it gets even uglier. Because obviously the sculpt is going to get broken up the way they kind of implemented this. Like, it doesn't line up when once you start actually moving it around. So that's a bit of a shame. But other than that, yeah, I think he looks great overall. So I'd give him a 4.5 out of 5 for aesthetics. And let's just go straight into articulation. And in terms of articulation, let's just get right into it. So his head's just on a typical double ball joint. Very nice. And it's got that neck ball peg also. So really good head movement. Get a lot of nice kind of like pivots any direction you want, really. Arms go out really well. And they did something very clever with the shoulders. Has like a hinge inside here, so it just automatically lifts up with him. So you could really T-pose him with the shoulder pads too, so that's really nice. And you know, it's just standard kind of ball peg inside there, nothing really new. Get a bicep swivel. Double joint, a little hindered in the double joint, like, but that's just because of the sculpting on the armor. So, you know, that's a given. And standard swivel ball joint for the wrists. Yeah, and then you get typical ball joint in the upper torso and lower. So really nice movement there. So you could really get nice kind of torso movement. It goes forward about that much. That's about it. Don't force your Figuarts. You don't want to break them. Goes back a bit more. That's it. Okay, and let's go straight into that. He does get a drop down on the legs, which I'm not a huge fan of. But it's there if you need it, and it does work. It does give him a little bit extra. But not completely necessary. But it's there and it's helpful, so I'll take it. Okay, and get a thigh swivel. And now I will say this right away. Little nitpick, these little kind of flaps in here to cover up the sculpt, they're a little rattly. And you'll really notice it when you take the leg off to use with the accessory he came with. A little fidgety there. Not a big fan of that, so it's just minor QC nitpick, but little rattly there. It doesn't affect the joint at all, just little nitpick there. Okay, very nice knee joint. That looks really like just natural. That looks really nice. That's the chrome paint on this is just amazing. Yeah, and then let's finish it off. So he's got a swivel, ball swivel for the feet. Very nice ankle rocker for his weird alien feet. You can see that. And everything is just smooth. Like, and I played around with him too. All the joints are smooth. His hands swap out, no effort. I just hope Tamashii keeps doing this. This is like the Tamashii I remember, like when I started collecting them, like way back. So very smooth joints all around, very easy to swap out the accessories, which we'll talk about in a second, like his hands, things like that. So in terms of articulation engineering, I'm going to give him a 4.4. And the only reason I'm going to knock it down a little bit is because of this tail we talked about. So it's just like a series of ball swivels, which, you know, they work well enough, but it looks kind of ugly. Like, see, once you start doing stuff like that, that just looks kind of hideous. So they need to figure out something a little bit better. I don't know what, honestly. But just that doesn't look good. Okay, so in terms of articulation engineering, yeah, 4.4, I think that's fair. Just little things like the little QC rattling in his like kind of crotch is a little annoying. Nothing huge. Okay, and let's talk about his accessories. So we'll get right into it. Talk about the most obvious accessory. And if you didn't watch the show, yes, spoiler, he gets cut in half by Trunks. And very nice accessory here to kind of memorialize that moment. Very nicely done. And that's it just looks great. So that's just creative to a whole new level. And, you know, very simple to use. You just kind of swap his arms and legs out. I'll put pictures at the end, what he looks like with this stuff on. And he does come with a stand, which you kind of just use to kind of float him in the air. I wish it was a little bit taller, this stand. It's very low to the ground, so, and that just plugs into his back, so you get that. Okay, let's look at the alternate heads he comes with. Grinning face, probably going to use that a lot. Angry face. Oh yeah, and his little crest thing here just swaps out from this over here. Very nicely done screaming face, like when he does the Death Stars and stuff like that. That looks great. I remember I liked Mecha Frieza like crazy when I first saw him. Like, I wanted to figure this guy since I was like 8, and very glad to own this. I just wish it wasn't so exclusive because I'd really like to buy a second one. Like, if I break this one, I'm not going to be happy. Or if anything happens to it. So you get a fist hand. You know, very tiny hands. Be careful with them. Get a very nice kind of open hand. So you can see that better. Chrome looks great. Get his kind of organic open hand. For his non-cybernetic side. And you get 2 pointing hands, again, mechanized and non-mechanized. Very nicely done. Okay. And yeah, you get a fist, yeah, just his organic fist. Okay, so that's really it for accessories. And in terms of accessories, I'll give him a 4.5. And no real complaints other than, you know, the stand could have been a bit taller because that scene happens like in midair. So, you know, you could stand him up on a book for extra height, but wish the stand was a little bit taller. And at this price, you know, a blast effect would have been nice because, yeah, he's not cheap. And let's go right into the value section to kind of talk about that. Okay, so I'll just say right away, yeah, in my opinion, this figure is not cheap. Like, I bought him because it's Frieza and I need him, but he's 85 bucks. You're looking at 95 obligatory because of their shipping. And then if you live in a state, like any state that charges, you know, sales tax, which is most of them, it's probably going to push into above $100. For a figure that's not even 5 inches tall, I don't feel comfortable paying upwards of $100. So I fished around and I just got him on a Japanese site, and I suggest everyone does the same. Like, you know, if you don't want to kind of pay that much for a figure of this size, and you kind of have that same sentiment, you can look at Japanese sites. I used Okini Land, and it's pretty sad that they're cheaper than P-Bandai. It's cheaper than getting from the direct. So I got him for like $90 total from Okini Land. In terms of value, I'd give him a 3.8. I like the figure a lot. It's a very nicely done figure. QC is overall very tight, but yeah, it's like a 4 3/4 inch figure too. I don't think he should be billing $100+ for that. Okay, with all that said, his overall rating is going to be 4.36, which I think is a very good rating. And if you're a fan of Frieza, don't even think, just get him, because you're going to really regret him if you like miss out on this. Now, unfortunately, if you did miss him, he's going to probably be expensive now. So eBay is probably going to be your best bet at this point. Or Mercari or one of those other secondary sales, and I really hope everyone kind of is able to get this at an affordable price. But if you did miss it, get him right now, because his price is only going to go up. He's probably not going to get re-released. Okay, so just to finish off, probably everyone's going to take pictures of him with this guy. Just quick scaling. Yeah, I think he looks great next to Trunks. So there you go. Okay, so that's it for this review. Just do a quick picture at the end. And if you have any questions, yeah, definitely let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care.